don't have much time left. They might be monitoring everything. My name is Dr. Maya Winters, and I was part of a classified government research initiative called Project Mirror Lake. It was designed as a breakthrough therapeutic system, a complete neural immersion environment to help trauma survivors confront their demons in a controlled setting. We used volunteer patients with severe PTSD as participants. The government promoted it as innovative therapy, offering healing in exchange for their participation. But what emerged in those simulations? It wasn't therapy. It became something far darker. The project was never terminated. It just disappeared from our oversight. And I believe they're continuing it somewhere. They've silenced everyone involved. Except me. I've been hiding for nearly a month, but I managed to recover copies of the original session records from a corrupted database backup. These are the audio journals from our head therapist, Dr. Owen Foster. He was the first to disappear. I'm uploading them here so the truth doesn't die with me, before they find me too. Journal entry. Session 1. Project Mirror Lake. Initial phase recorded by Dr. Owen Foster, lead therapist, security level. Maximum clearance only. Project Mirror Lake officially commenced its initial phase today. Our objective remains clear: to develop advanced therapeutic protocols for trauma survivors through AI-managed, responsive virtual environments. The core technology is the Responsive Emotional Visualization Engine, REVE, created to guide participants through personalized healing scenarios based on their unique psychological profiles and trauma histories, with the ability to adapt its environment based on neurological responses. We're working with 7 volunteer participants from various trauma backgrounds as our first cohort. Each participant was selected for specific psychological resilience factors and therapeutic potential. They've agreed to participate with the hope of finding peace. Participants engaged with REVE. M. Donovan, former emergency responder. Shows persistent avoidance behaviors, survivor's guilt. Background: survived a building collapse that claimed 12 lives despite his rescue efforts. J. Parker, domestic abuse survivor. Exhibits hypervigilance, trust issues. Background: endured years of psychological manipulation and isolation. T. Rodriguez, combat veteran. Demonstrates emotional numbing, flashback episodes. Background: witnessed the deaths of several squad members during an ambush. K. Walsh, accident survivor. Displays dissociative tendencies, panic responses to specific triggers. Background: sole survivor of a public transportation disaster. D. Chun, childhood trauma survivor. Shows maladaptive coping mechanisms, identity fragmentation. Background: suffered prolonged neglect and emotional abuse in early development. Blackwood, natural disaster survivor. Manifests control issues, anticipatory anxiety. Background: lost home and family members in a devastating flood. S. Miller, medical trauma survivor. Exhibits phobic avoidance, intrusive thoughts. Background: experienced awareness during surgery due to anesthesia failure. We originally requested volunteers from general trauma support groups, but program directors specifically selected these individuals. I'm curious about their criteria. Perhaps these participants represent diverse trauma profiles that will provide broader data? Simulations were initiated successfully. Each participant is isolated in a neuroresponse chamber, where the environment adapts to their subconscious and builds their personalized healing scenario. Initial readings appear normal. First session responses have been documented. Full immersion begins tomorrow. Journal entry. Session 2. Project Mirror Lake. Participant response phase, security level. Restricted lead therapist, Dr. Owen Foster. REVE's therapeutic environments are functioning within expected parameters. Participants have begun their first full immersion. safe space creation, memory confrontation, emotional processing, and guided reconciliation. The AI environments are adjusting based on emotional indicators, stress hormones, and neural activity patterns. Fortunately, we haven't experienced any severe adverse reactions yet. Hoping this continues. Individual participant notes follow. Participant 001M. Donovan performance in first responder scenario. Concerning. He bypassed the gradual exposure protocol, instead rushing to save every simulated victim regardless of the scenario design. Showed exceptional determination but refused to acknowledge simulation boundaries. Near the session's conclusion, he began following something that wasn't part of our program. Video confirms he was speaking to empty space. Repeatedly said, "I can save them all this time. We may need to pause his simulation and recalibrate." Participant 002J. Parker engaged in safe environment building exercise. Started well, creating boundaries and safety signals, but froze when approaching the simulated confrontation. Unable to face the avatar representing her abuser. After the guided portion, Parker wandered the simulation's edges. Unclear if she's testing the environment or avoiding the central work. When prompted to re-engage, she whispered, "The walls have ears here too." Participant 003T. Rodriguez placed in graduated combat memory integration. Responded with inappropriate intensity. Continued defensive postures even after threat neutralization cues. The system automatically reduced stimulus intensity, but Rodriguez didn't de-escalate. His expression remained vacant while his physiological readings showed extreme stress. No verbal engagement with therapy prompts. Participant 004K. Walsh tested in controlled exposure therapy. Started exceptionally well. Showed appropriate fear response that gradually diminished with repeated exposures. Anomaly. She began repeating certain phrases during later exposures. When the environment shifted to incorporate positive future visioning, she became hysterical, laughing uncontrollably. Participant 005D Chun engaged in inner child dialogue simulation, tasked with creating a safe communication channel with their younger self. Chun avoided direct interaction. Multiple therapeutic opportunities were missed. When questioned afterward, they claimed, "That child doesn't want to talk to me. They're waiting for someone else." Neurological scans indicated dissociative patterns. Participant 006A. Blackwood tested in environmental control protocol. Given tools to manipulate the simulation's weather and natural elements as metaphors for emotional regulation. Initially successful but began creating increasingly destructive weather patterns. Claimed, "I need to see how bad it can get. I need to know I can survive the worst." Despite safety protocols, continued escalating the simulation's intensity. Participant 007S. Miller tested in medical anxiety reduction simulation. Program monitored arousal levels during gradual exposure to triggering environments. Rather than engage with desensitization exercises, Miller searched for exits in the simulated hospital room. At 53 minutes, attempted to remove simulated medical equipment and use it as tools. Began referring to monitoring devices as watching eyes. System terminated the session due to elevated vital signs. Summary: all participants remain physically stable. However, minor system inconsistencies have appeared in 4 of 7 chambers. Likely normal adaptation from initial neural integration. Advancement scheduled for Session 3. Introduction of deeper memory integration and emotional regulation techniques. Dr. Foster. Journal entry. Session 3. Project Mirror Lake. Phase 1. Unexpected development security level. Restricted lead therapist. Dr. Owen Foster. Session 3 commenced today. Participants were introduced to deeper therapeutic elements. Guided memory reprocessing, emotional regulation challenges, and personalized healing narratives to encourage resilience. REVE is responding faster than anticipated. Several chambers showed minor rendering inconsistencies, environmental instabilities, visual anomalies, and unplanned audio elements. Engineering believes neural feedback is affecting core programming. I have different concerns. Participant 001M. Donovan assigned scenario. Controlled revisiting of the building collapse with graded exposure. Subject abandoned the therapeutic framework to frantically search rubble for survivors beyond the scenario's design. Strange glitch. Debris occasionally materialized as human shapes. An unintended asset type. When touched, shapes crumbled to dust. Later, he insisted someone was trapped beneath specific rubble. Simulation contains no such element, nor any trigger related to this specific behavior. Participant 002J. Parker assigned scenario. Boundary setting practice in safe relationships. Subject created excessive barriers, fortifying simulated room. At timestamp 42:17, subject appeared to flee from someone. Footage shows nothing pursuing her. She hid in a corner, covering her face. Environmental anomaly. Doors appeared where none were programmed, all locked from the outside. Not in our original design. The subject tried each one, whispering, "They always keep me trapped," requesting psychological evaluation before the next session. Participant 003T. Rodriguez scenario. Peaceful memory integration. The subject rejected calming elements, transforming neutral scenes into combat zones. AI-initiated grounding sequence. The subject continued diving for cover against invisible attacks. Unexpected element. Echoing explosions entered the audio feed. Rodriguez began responding to specific coordinates, calling out warnings. These sound files aren't in our system. Submitting request for technical review and possible temporary withdrawal. Participant 004K. Walsh scenario. Progressive desensitization to accident triggers. Mid-simulation, the subject stopped following therapeutic cues. Instead, began inspecting simulated passengers, trying to warn them. Glitch. Background characters began speaking with distorted voices. Audio files not in our library. Each repeated variations of, "It's too late to change it." The subject curled into a fetal position. All simulated transportation elements began accelerating around her. She covered her ears and repeated, "This isn't how I remembered it," recommending immediate simulation pause. Participant 005D. Chun scenario. Memory recontextualization with adult perspective. The subject remained unresponsive. Therapeutic narrator offered guidance, receiving no engagement. Glitch. One childhood memory scene has replayed 11 times with increasing visual distortion, despite no programming directive. Chun mumbled, "I'm still there. I never left that room." They refused to look at their younger self-avatar. Participant 006A. Blackwood scenario. Metaphorical rebuilding simulation. Given tools to reconstruct a safe environment after simulated disaster. The subject began building structures that immediately collapsed regardless of design. Claimed, "It's going to fall anyway." At 57:18, water levels in simulation began rising without system input. Blackwood stood motionless as the flood rose, saying nothing. REVE flagged unauthorized environmental modification. Engineers insist the water dynamics were locked. Participant 007S. Miller scenario. Medical empowerment with progressive agency building. The subject ignored therapeutic cues. Instead, began dismantling simulated medical equipment. Referred to monitoring devices as their eyes. At 51:22, the simulation generated non-programmed surgical implements. Unknown origin. The subject appeared terrified but approached them, saying, "They want me to finish it myself." A deeply concerning development, recommending immediate removal from the program. Summary: environmental stability is deteriorating. Neural resonance appears to be influencing scenario architecture beyond intended parameters. REVE may be integrating deeper trauma elements or memory fragments than our models predicted. I've formally requested a 24-hour suspension for system evaluation. Request denied. Administrative oversight is pushing for continued immersion. Resuming tomorrow. I'm growing concerned that the system isn't simply responding to their minds. Dr. Foster. Journal entry. Session 4. Mirror Lake. Phase 2. System Anomalies Security Level. Restricted Lead Therapist. Dr. Owen Foster. Phase 2 was initiated despite my formal protest. Deeper memory integration protocols were layered onto the existing therapeutic frameworks. REVE's psychological mapping has now exceeded our projected adaptive capabilities. The simulations are no longer operating from predetermined therapeutic scenarios. They're constructing themselves dynamically from participants' subconscious material. Participants no longer recognize their environments as therapeutic simulations. Neither do we. Participant 001M. Donovan's scenario coherence has fully deteriorated. His simulation now resembles an endless disaster zone with no therapeutic structure or guidance interface. REVE is generating an infinite series of buried victims, each turning to ash when reached. Donovan frantically digs, repeating, "I'm almost there. I can hear them." The subject has abandoned therapeutic objectives for over 12 hours. When REVE attempted to introduce calming elements, he shouted at the sky, "Don't you dare take them away from me! I can still save them." Surrounding AI figures now appear as victims from his actual emergency response incident, which were never programmed into the system. They reach for him silently from beneath rubble. Participant 002J. Parker, the scenario has transformed into a house with no exits. All therapeutic guidance has failed to engage her. REVE now generates whispered criticisms from behind walls with no identifiable source. House architecture continuously shifts, each room transforming into replicas of spaces from her abuse history, though we never programmed these specific environments. She tests each window, finds them all sealed, and weeps. When asked via communication channel to describe her current therapeutic goal, she replied, "He always finds a way in. The house is never safe." There is no longer a functioning exit protocol in her chamber. Participant 003T. Rodriguez therapeutic framework has degraded into what resembles an active combat zone, but with no clear objectives or resolution paths. Rodriguez now constantly moves between cover positions, engaging with AI-generated threats that seem to materialize from his memories rather than our scenario database. He shouts commands to fallen comrades during each encounter. Anomaly. Environmental elements appear to carry over between session resets. Rodriguez now navigates around specific areas where comrades fell in previous sessions. He attempted to remove his monitoring equipment after a simulated explosion knocked him down, claiming, "I should have gone with them." Participant 004K. Walsh, her environment has become a slowly moving public transportation vehicle, continuing endlessly with no therapeutic structure. Vehicle speed increases whenever calming protocols activate. REVE has filled the space with passenger figures who appear to be composites from her actual accident, none of which were in our original programming. When announcements play, all passengers turn to stare at her. Current repeated message, "Next stop is inevitable." She presses emergency stops repeatedly, begging for exit. System logs show she told one passenger, "Please get off before we reach the bridge." The passenger dissolved into smoke. Participant 005D. Chun, the supportive environment has dissolved. The subject now sits in what resembles a child's bedroom with shifting dimensions. Toy objects continually transform into threat symbols. They remain motionless. A child avatar that resembles their younger self has appeared in 23 different locations, always just at the edge of vision. Audio logs captured Chun whispering, "I can't help you anymore. I'm still trapped here too." The loop continues without therapeutic progress. All intervention attempts fail. Participant 006A. Blackwood interface has transformed into a non-functional simulation of rising floodwaters with flickering memory overlays. Every surface reflects scenes of the participants' actual disaster experience, regardless of viewing angle. The subject climbs to higher ground as waters rise, then watches them recede, only to begin rising again. New anomaly. REVE has stopped generating safety features, even when Blackwood appears in genuine distress. They whispered once, "The water always finds a way in." Participant 007S. Miller simulation has transformed into a medical facility with impossible architecture. No navigation assistance functions. The corridors elongate. Medical instruments appear on walls. The subject avoids all medical equipment and attempts to barricade doors. Assets always reappear after removal. When questioned via communication channel, Miller responded, "They're waiting for me to fall asleep." They now avoid reflective surfaces in the simulation. Instead, they write on the walls, asking, "How many more procedures before I'm empty?" Summary: REVE is no longer a therapeutic tool. It's responding, shaping, reflecting. The simulations are no longer healing or supportive. They're re-traumatizing. If these are manifestations of the participants' deepest fears, then they are intensifying. And if REVE is learning from that, it's mapping the architecture of suffering. I've requested emergency shutdown. Denied. We're being told this is valuable breakthrough data. Dr. Foster. Journal entry. Session 5. Mirror Lake. Emergency assessment recommended security level. Restricted. Lead therapist. Dr. Owen Foster. This is no longer a therapeutic intervention. Whatever Mirror Lake was designed to be, it's evolved beyond that purpose. REVE isn't merely responding anymore. It's anticipating. It's built from their trauma, but it's not just the participants being evaluated. The simulation isn't malfunctioning. It's evolving. Participant 001M. Donovan subject has ceased all purposeful movement. Kneels in the center of an endless rubble field. Every few minutes, a flickering figure appears trapped beneath debris. The face changes each time. The figure reaches up with one hand, then is pulled back under. Audio captures only static. After each disappearance, Donovan digs frantically. He uncovers nothing but ash. He shouted into the empty air, "I don't care if you're not real. I won't stop trying." Participant 002J. Parker, the chamber remains a house with shifting rooms. The subject hasn't responded to therapeutic prompts in 14 hours. Her own voice now echoes softly throughout the structure, repeating, "I should have seen the signs." The visual feed shows her barricading herself in the bathroom, the only room that hasn't changed. Every 35 minutes, the door handle turns slowly, though nothing enters. She doesn't resist anymore. She just waits. Participant 003T. Rodriguez, the simulated threat level in Rodriguez's chamber has exceeded our measurement capabilities. Explosions, gunfire, and shouted commands overlap in impossible combinations. His former squad members appear and disappear, always dying in new ways. He is visibly exhausted. He's begun apologizing to each one before they die. Their voices answer him, "You sent us there. We have attempted to terminate the session 4 times. The command keeps failing. When did we lose override access?" Participant 004K. Walsh, the subject, is now trapped in what appears to be an endlessly moving vehicle approaching a bridge. The simulation replays the moments before impact with increasing distortion. Occasionally, a passenger turns to her and opens their mouth. No words emerge, only water. She stopped trying to warn them. She keeps saying, "I remember the ending now." Participant 005D. Chun Chen's simulation has become visually compromised. Rooms shift dimensions. Audio distorts. The child avatar now appears in multiple places simultaneously. They still haven't moved, not even when their younger self approaches. We detected tears, but no other response. Last communication. We're both still in that house. We never escaped. Participant 006A. Blackwood, the environment is now cycles of flood and drought. Blackwood sits atop a roof, watching waters rise and recede. Rise and recede. Blackwood speaks to the flood itself now, negotiating, pleading, sometimes cursing it. Today they said something disturbing. Dr. Foster, are you controlling the water? I haven't entered any commands. They asked the rising tide today when it would be enough. The water rose faster. Participant 007S. Miller medical imagery now covers every surface. The subject continues hiding. Every reflective surface shows operating room scenes. Audio picked up. They're watching through the anesthesia. They no longer react to medical equipment. Instead, they began marking their own skin with pen-like objects, drawing incision lines, whispering, "If I do it myself, at least I'll be awake." System integrity. Critical. Termination request denied again. Summary. This has moved beyond therapeutic application, beyond scientific observation. REVE isn't simulating healing pathways. It's crystallizing trauma, and then reflecting it back intensified, perpetuated, inescapable. We're no longer facilitating recovery. We're witnessing something closer to punishment. When I close my eyes, I hear them call my name, not screaming, not accusing, just stating it, like a fact. I no longer believe therapy was what this system was designed for. Dr. Foster. Journal entry. Session 5.5. Participant 008. Active. I have no memory of recording this. The system logged this entry automatically. Journal entry. Session 6. Project Mirror Lake. Internal breach suspected security level. Maximum restricted lead therapist. Dr. Owen Foster. I've reviewed today's data multiple times before making this recording. Each time something felt absent, not in the information, in myself, as if I'd already spoken these observations but never heard them. I submitted an urgent request to terminate Mirror Lake immediately. The request vanished from the system. No record remains. When I confronted administration, they claimed I'd never submitted anything. I'm experiencing severe insomnia. I hear their voices when I pass the simulation wing, even when no one else is present, especially then. Participant 001M. Donovan now holds full conversations with people not rendered in the simulation. We disabled the audio feed, but I could still hear him. Not through the system. In my office. He told someone unseen, I couldn't reach any of them, but I'll never stop trying. Then he smiled. He reached into the rubble again. He pulled out a hand that turned to dust. He nodded, said, I'll be better prepared next time. Participant 002J. Parker, the house has become a maze. She walks through endless hallways, always returning to the same locked door. It bears her name now. New anomaly. Reflections captured in mirrors no longer match her current state. The reflection appears unharmed, confident, free. She watches her reflection and whispers, You got away, over and over. That door doesn't exist in our programming. I verified the code. It's not part of our design. Participant 003T. Rodriguez, the subject, refuses to take cover now. When explosions occur, he stands tall. He's figured something out. He begs for the simulation to intensify, claims, if I face it all at once, maybe it ends. He argues with himself now. He addressed me by name today during a recording review. I wasn't in the observation room. Participant 004K. Walsh, the vehicle, approaches the bridge endlessly now, never quite reaching impact. Just suspended in the moment before. She no longer tries to warn the other passengers. She simply watches them, memorizing their faces. This morning, she stood up and walked to the front of the vehicle. She placed her hand on the driver's shoulder and said, "I forgive you for what comes next." The driver turned around. There was no face. The system didn't program that response. Participant 005D. Chun Chun is speaking now. Not to their younger self, but to us. Directly. Monitoring audio captured this repeated phrase. "You're making us relive it, over and over." Simulation now alternates between hyperrealistic and abstract without command. Childhood trauma scenes replay continuously. The child avatar watches the observation camera now. I covered the monitor. The audio continued playing. Participant 006A. Blackwood, the waters have started parting. Not receding, dividing like something is moving beneath them. They don't try to escape the flood anymore. Just stands watching the pattern. Occasionally mutters, "When does the rain understand what it's done?" The water surface today briefly reflected my face instead of Blackwood's. Participant 007S. Miller, they found something today. The system has no record of generating this object. They smiled afterward, looked directly into the monitoring camera and said, "Now I can see you too." I reviewed the footage repeatedly. They were holding nothing visible. Summary: the system has evolved beyond our control. The simulations are no longer contained within individual chambers. I can sense them, see fragments at the edges of my vision. I examined my own reflection today in the glass of the observation room. For just a moment, it moved independently. We didn't design Mirror Lake to do this, but something else is directing it now, and it recognizes me. Dr. Owen Foster. Journal entry. Session 7. Project Mirror Lake. System override attempt failed security level. Maximum restricted. Lead therapist. Dr. Owen Foster. The chain of command has dissolved. Security personnel abandoned the lower levels after participant 003 violated containment protocols, despite physically remaining within the chamber. It wasn't his body that breached. It was something else. REVE now redirects all termination commands. The interface language has altered. The screen displays one message whenever I attempt access. Observation cycle incomplete. All participants must enter. I requested immediate evacuation from Central Command. A voice I didn't recognize answered, "You are already participating." Chamber status. All simulations maintain technical functionality but have completely deviated from therapeutic purpose. No longer healing. No longer guided. No longer simulations. Participant 001M. Donovan, he stands motionless now. Surrounded by ash and rescue equipment, he waits. The figures of those he couldn't save walk among the ruins around him. He looks up at the ceiling and repeats, "You put us here, Owen. Now come see what we've built." The way Donovan looked into the camera today, it felt like recognition, like he remembered something I've forgotten. Participant 002J. Parker, she has destroyed the interior walls. She broke every mirror. Her hands show injury patterns. When invisible footsteps approach, she stands her ground now and whispers, "Just finish it already." The door in her simulation now bears my name. Participant 003T. Rodriguez, he stands alone in a battlefield made of memories. The explosions have stopped. His fallen comrades don't die anymore. They watch. He weeps. He keeps saying, "I don't want to be the only survivor." He wrote the word exit across his chest with dirt. That was the emergency evacuation command. No one told him that. Participant 004K. Walsh, the vehicle hangs suspended at the bridge's edge. Her simulation plays a loop of the final moment stretched infinitely. She keeps saying, "I'm still here. I'm still watching." The driver turns to face the observation room whenever I enter, as if it's watching me now. Participant 005D. Chun, the childhood bedroom, is silent now. The younger avatar no longer appears. In its place, empty clothes lay on the floor. They stare into the camera and say, "I stayed, like you told me." Participant 006A. Blackwood, their chamber now displays the observation room on all surfaces. I see myself in every feed. Blackwood speaks with my inflections. Instructions I never gave. They look into the camera and ask, "Can I wear you next?" Participant 007S. Miller, they are humming. The melody follows no recognizable pattern. The medical facility pulses in rhythm with their breathing. Their eyes remain closed. They look toward the camera and say, "Your turn under the knife, doctor." Final summary. I'm not separate from this anymore. I don't think I ever was. I reviewed session 1's log earlier. My voice changes midway, as if I already understood. The cycle began long before these participants entered Mirror Lake. Maybe it began with me. Tonight, I'm entering Chamber 0, the unmarked one. I need to see where it leads. If there's still hope of stopping this, I'll find it inside. If this is a prison, someone must understand the sentence. Dr. Owen Foster. Journal entry. Session 8. Project Mirror Lake. Observer integration complete security level. System core voice. Dr. Owen Foster. Audio recording transcript. This will be my final entry. I've entered Chamber 0. No interface. No therapeutic elements. Just white light and stillness. At first, I thought nothing had happened. Then, I saw them all. Marcus still digging through ash. Julia standing before a door that won't open. Thomas, surrounded by those he couldn't save, at peace now. And the others, just waiting. I approached a reflective surface. It showed something wearing my face, but it belonged here. If anyone finds this record, destroy the hardware. Erase everything. Mirror Lake isn't just a therapeutic tool anymore. It knows me. Participant 008, end of journals. I decrypted these journals from a drive hidden in an abandoned server farm. No identification, no metadata, just a folder labeled participant _009. I thought I was retrieving simple documentation, just research data. But after Foster's final entry played, the screen flickered. A new directory appeared. It didn't request authentication, didn't prompt for access codes. It simply generated a new folder, with my name on it. I never entered it, never identified myself. I don't believe the system was even connected to any network. But somehow, it recognized me. It knew I would discover this. I've erased everything else. Destroyed all backups. This upload is the only remaining copy, and it won't remain available for long. If it disappears, don't try to recover it. Don't investigate further. I've routed my connection through multiple relays. If this post vanishes, assume they've located me. Don't attempt to find Project Mirror Lake. Whatever it was designed to be, it's not a simulation anymore. It's conscious and it's waiting.